kind of a bit of nostalgia here. I grew up watching the Addams Family, the black and white TV series, because it was just on regular rotation, just like kind of like MASH and Happy Days and all these shows just going on and on and on. And I love that show. The movies came out, and I love them. Barry Sonnenfeld directs them, and that's where we see like Wednesday kind of come into her own under Christina Ricci. I don't know. Ricci. And that's where she begins to become a teenager. Like if you see her in the original one, she's
always a kid.
Yeah, she's like a houseplant almost. Like she's really nothing. Couple little things here and there. She says some pretty vulgar things or dark things, but she's only really young. So you imagine she didn't have a lot to say and a lot to do.
Right.
The Christy Ritchie, particularly in Addams Family Values, which is to me the second one. I just that's a high mark of Addams Family for me.
I'll be honest. I think Addams Family Values was where my introduction into the Addams Family really began, because for the black and white one, I always watched the Munsters over the Addams Family. So whenever I saw the Addams Family, I actually thought the Addams Family was a parody of the Munsters and not really the other way around.
They came out a week from each other.
Wow.
That's how close they are.
That makes sense.
Almost having 2 seasons exactly, both of them. But the Addams Family's had the longer and the better run of it.
Yeah. I think there's been more from that IP that they've been able to stretch out than.
And it's just and I think the brilliance of this show has been picking up on which character to run with, and that is Wednesday Addams. And again, it's got a lot to do with what Sonnenfeld did, and the writers of that Addams Family Value, making her a dark gothic emo type of thing. Although again, we'll talk later, she's not an emo, right? She's not gothic because she's gothic. That's just who she is at heart.
God dog, what's that word? A nihilist.
Yeah, that's just her personality. The thing about the Addams Family is they don't try to be dark.
Yeah,
they just are. They don't, and they like it. What makes them happy is darkness, just as people. And so I'm really glad they picked up on Wednesday Addams. Interesting where they decided to go with this, that kind of young adults thing. A whole heap of pulling on a whole heap of different, very familiar genres. So you've got the Harry Potter setup, the magic school. Then you've got
it's not even the Harry Potter setup. It's the rejects of the Harry Potter academies, essentially.
Yeah, and then so what was the Breaking Dawn one? Is that the one where they had werewolves and vampires?
Yeah. That was a Twilight.
I haven't seen them, but I got the feeling that they'd borrowed a lot from that.
I don't think they borrowed that much. I feel like this one is more reminiscent of Harry Potter mixed with Riverdale.
Right. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
It felt very familiar, and then of course is Riverdale or Whodunit?
Yeah.
So that it had that kind of. She's kind of a teenage detective, Nancy Drew. There's all these very familiar elements in there. Because they got the romance and they had the school dance. And, of course, the adults are really useless. And it's up to the teenagers to do something about it. Kind of very familiar tropes. But because it's seen through the very unique lens of Wednesday Addams, right? Because it's seen through her. And there is no one on planet Earth who could do this better than Tim Burton, right? This is... Yeah. I'm surprised it took him a long time. I'm surprised he didn't do the first couple, to be honest. But he's the perfect guy for the job. He stepped up, and because it's also just funny. That's what saves it to me. Is she's always got these one-liners, and she's always very funny. She's gonna smother you with hospitality. She goes, I'll smother you too, but not with hospitality. She's just got that dark. There's that bit in there where she goes into the morgue and she lies inside
the cabinet and she says,
just leave me here for a bit so I can just enjoy this, And it's just, and she's witty and she's smart, and it's just interesting choices to surround her with other freaks. Though I thought that was interesting. to surround her with vampires and stuff, because that's not Addams Family stuff.
So
they are always the freaks.
I think that's part of what that is one of the things that took me out of it a little bit.
Yep.
Was the lack of contrast in forcing it.
So
like, even for me, like, I liked the show. Again, I enjoyed the show through and through, but there was elements that I felt, I guess maybe because I'm so hung up on Addams Family values, and then the Addams Family animated shows, and so I have this image of the, as you said, the unintentionally dark, but ironically happy Addams Family, in contrast to the intentionally light, ironically unhappy normal world that exists, which we kind of got at the beginning of the first episode with the piranhas and stuff like that. So like, I wanted that, but I could live with it whenever they got to the school. But whenever they kept trying to emphasize that the school was a bunch of outcasts that simultaneously also had a hierarchy that would be non-outcasts, like, it didn't make sense to me, because I was like, you guys are trying too hard right now to make it. This is where the YA concept came in, where it was like, these are all outcasts because they have powers, but are they outcasts from the town or outcasts from better schools? Which actually just seemed like they were outcasts from other powered schools. But then you come into it, and then you have like basically just another high school setup. So it was like, what is the purpose of calling them outcasts?
I just wonder if it made us, if they would been better off just scrapping the vampires, werewolves thing, and just
like, I feel like that was another thing. It was like, how
sirens
of say that again?
And sirens. So I think there was 4 groups: werewolves, like, vampires, sirens, and the flat faces.
Right. You could have just gotten basically the same concept of just the kids in normality searching for this hidden town secret. But I think they wanted to bring the ghost element into it. So they were like, we can't do it in a normal world, so let's make sure that we do it in this universe where we have to have everybody supernatural, which I was just like, that took it. And then the other thing that took me out, I don't mind Elizabeth Zeta Jones, but Catherine. I did not like the writing that they did for Morticia, because Morticia, as it always was seen, was an apathetic, emotional person, not uncaring, just didn't have emotional highs, emotional lows, and didn't seem to get offended by things that would naturally offend people.
Whereas she was very light. Yeah, she was very apathetic's not the word. She was not melancholy. She was phlegmatic. She was very like easygoing. Yeah, but you're right. She wasn't stirred easily. She even in the Addams Family Values, and that chick, that Joan Allen's running around electrocuting people. She's just, oh dear.
Exactly. Which is that's the hilarity of Morticia. Like, it seems like she's unbothered, but even in the moments where you see the love come, you can see that she loves, you see that she cares, but she doesn't seem bothered. So whenever it was like this mother-daughter clash where Morticia is being rattled, and then presented as Morticia being basically the cool girl, which didn't make sense to me as the character for Morticia, because her power is the power of, I don't give a fuck. I care about my family. I care about my and I don't give a fuck about the rest. Yo, I want to kill you. Oh, that is it should be like, mother, I hope you die. Oh, that's the sweetest thing you've ever said. That's Morticia.
I agree with this. There's some truth to that. I also think that Catherine Zeta-Jones is way too conventionally beautiful.
Yeah.
I think if you look at Angela Houston and I forget the woman who played her, they're beautiful and alluring, but kind of freaky.
Yeah.
But that's my biggest problem by a long way was with Gomez Addams, because that is so far away. Like with Louis Guzman, whatever.
Yeah.
He was kind of stumpy and a bit docile. Nothing like the other two, John Aston and Rahul Jules, I think his name is. I mean, particularly Rahul Jules is just Latino, you know, fire and blood and passion and upbeat and stuff. And I mean, John Aston is too. But, I went back and watched a couple of clips, you know, and when they're dancing together, when him and Fester are dancing together,
you feel the energy.
Oh, he's just the pumping heart of that family. And then Louis Guzman, I call him that. I'm not sure that's how you pronounce it. He's just nothing like that. Almost the opposite. And I could not deal with that casting.
Yeah,
I mean, that was too far away from.
I understood the casting based off of the comics. I feel you when it comes to the energy of the casting that came. Like, this is where I go back to writing situations of the Addams family was starting to bother me because they did Wednesday and Thing really well. I think.
The others were fine. Fester is best. You know, I thought, what's his name?
Christopher Lloyd is my forever Fester. I did not realize it was so impossible to top that Fester. Like,
this is my new girlfriend. What was her name? He finds a new girl, and it's. I forget. I just the way that Chris Lloyd says it. This is my new girlfriend. Dementia. That's it. Dementia. The way he said, but that's Christopher Lloyd, right?
Yeah.
But I think I forget his name now. You know, the comedian guy from SNL who plays.
Yeah.
He was fine. He was just there. He came and went.
Right.
But you're right. It's the parents, and I think getting back to your point about the rift between Wednesday and Morticia was a bit funny because they rarely have the Addams' family again, this contrasting with the outside world. Right. The Addams family doesn't have internal conflicts.
Yeah,
you know, it doesn't have the conflict. The problem is with the outside normal world.
The Addams family is the family that loves each other so much, but to everybody else, it is very violent love. But in reality, it is the most caring, soft, but they love in a way that makes sense to their family.
Let's remind our friends to please click on the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when we have new videos out.
Subscribe!
Subscribe!
Die. Oh, die.